everyone, welcome to Brandon Woodworkers Club. Ready to build something awesome together?
All right. Well, I'm kind of pitch hitting tonight, so Mark Corso was supposed to do the presentation. I don't see him back, so everybody pray for Mark. You know, health situation going on there, but hopefully he'll be back soon. Pinch hitting for a woodworkers club is kind of intimidating since I've really only been doing woodworking full-time for maybe 5 years. A little bit of background about myself. My great-grandfather was a blacksmith, and my grandfather was a welder, blacksmith, also a carpenter. He was an airplane mechanic during World War II. My father was a civil engineer, and then I wanted to follow my dad's footsteps, as many boys do. So I was an engineer. I was in computer engineering, graduated from Mississippi State in 1987. I had the unique opportunity to work at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Vicksburg, Concrete Technologies Laboratory specifically. And then went to work for Lockheed, then for NASA, then IBM, then AT&T. So throughout that whole transition of life, I changed jobs as opportunities came to me. That's what moved me down to Tampa from NASA to IBM. I did a presentation. IBM liked it and said, "We'll double your salary, pay to move you to Tampa." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, let's do that." So, been here for almost 31 years now, so Tampa's very much home. I've really enjoyed my second life, if you will, in working. AT&T decided I had done enough in computer engineering, mostly networking. Systems engineer was my title, but they said that I was worth getting rid of in 2022, so I retired. Stayed retired for 3 months and decided that just wasn't the life for me. I wound up starting a handyman service, odds and end kind of stuff around the neighborhood. People asked me if I could do stuff. I always figure things out. How many here go to YouTube University with regularity, right? I have my second and third degree from YouTube University, so keep doing that, no doubt about it. I really enjoyed that. Over the years, I've updated my house several times, staircase, crown molding, benches inside the house, outside the house. Built a restoration hardware table for my daughter-in-law. I've built all kinds of things for their house. So woodworking just kind of helped me develop a unique skill set, and then also gave me the excuse to buy tools. So we all need excuses to buy tools, right? So speaking of buying tools, if somebody would like to buy this one for me, I'm in the market, according to Tom. He does not like my fire-breathing dragon miter saw.
He's got a DeWalt
779.
He's got a DeWalt miter saw with the complete blade guard missing. I mean, non-existent. The top of the blade is exposed, and it has this great feature that when you operate it, it gives a little bit of a kick. You turn the switch on, it makes the blade go round and round. And I have threatened to tell his wife about this, but she apparently knows. So he must have a good life insurance policy.
She took out an extra life insurance policy just for that.
So we're going to have a fund for Rick that he could either use to buy a better saw or to buy fingers when things go wrong.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that.
With your copies.
Yeah. What is that GoFundMe page?
We'll send it.
We'll get there. Okay, we'll put it down. Anyway, nonetheless, so yeah, I have collected some tools. I actually have a split car garage. So my single car garage is my wood shop. Right now it collects wood. That's what my wood shop does. So I throw all the scraps, 4x8 sheets and extra crown and everything else. So getting to my tools is kind of hard sometimes. But nonetheless, I really enjoy working with wood, so I joined a woodworking club. You guys have been a great inspiration. I've learned a lot of things from you, so just wanted to say that I really admire everybody who gets up here and presents their skill set and what they do. Fascinating things sometimes, for sure. Two of my favorite channels on YouTube, and if you want to write these down: Insider Carpentry. Spencer Lewis is the guy that runs that channel, and Finish Carpentry TV. Richard McMurray runs that channel. He's also a vet, an Army vet. But as Tom mentioned, he and I have had the opportunity to work together on several cabinet, entertainment center, built-in type projects, and he kind of thinks I've learned a few things better than he has. So, all right, so let's get to talking about molding here. When you say you want to update molding in your house, first question is, who here has actually installed crown molding or base molding?
Base.
All right, so if I get stuck, I'm going to call on you, okay? Who here does it as part of their occupation today? No? All right, well, again, I've really only learned this skill in the last 5 years, so bear with me. Certainly, I've laid out a few things here on the table. This is the most important tool on the table, obviously, is the miter saw. I have a DeWalt, the 779 model. It's a compound miter saw, sliding, and I use it, you know. In fact, I was installing a baseboard this morning until 3 o'clock this afternoon, so it gets worked a lot. Some of the other things that are very beneficial when you're measuring and cutting and installing crown is to make sure you've got a laser tape. This will tell you from one wall to the other exactly how far it is, instead of trying to make your tape measure go out to the end to see just how far it goes until it breaks. Right? You're not going to get there. If the homeowner is there, then I guess you could have them help you. But the best thing to do is to go get one of these, a laser tape measure. It's a great tool. I love it. Stud finder. When I'm installing crown or baseboard, I like to find the studs, and then if I have a bow or a gap or something, then I can vampire nail into the drywall if I need to. But finding the studs is key in my opinion. The other thing that is important with crown or with base, let's start with base, because I really want to talk about crown mostly, but I don't want to forget about base. There are a lot of different profiles. This is 5 1/4, 5 1/4. This is another 5 1/4. If you bought a starter home, you probably got this 3.5 inch base. Whenever you change from carpet to flooring, you wind up probably having a gap you got to cover somewhere along the way because cuts weren't exactly flush, weren't very good. So you usually cover them up with quarter round or shoe molding. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of that on hand if you're doing your base. Another little handy tool, if you're just if you want to do a quick cut, is Home Depot has these over on the aisle around where the tile cutting station is, but you can actually cut your trim right on the spot. All right, so it doesn't take running back to the miter saw to do, you know, some small little cuts right there, right when you need to do some really intricate small cuts. When I found that was like, wow, that saves me a lot of trips. Thanks. other thing that I use on my compound miter saw is I have these crown stops. The reason I have crown stops is because there's two ways to cut crown. But we're done talking about base. Did anybody have any questions about base before we move on? All right, so what?
I did a little bit of research.
Oh, yeah, the professor
Oh, yeah.
sent me notes that I should probably cover,
Here, you could read this too.
but I was watching the time, so,
There's some design rules for sizing the height of your base molding. It depends on the height of the room, obviously, and there's some reasons behind that. So, you want to read it?
Oh, you want me to? Okay, I was just gonna hold it for you. Okay. Yeah, so there are some guidelines with regard to, how high baseboard do you want to pick. By the way, this is a MDF. You can get it in finger joint pine as well. And as far as application goes with regard to one area you need to pay attention to is in your bathrooms and in your kitchens. You don't want to use MDF, especially if you need shoe molding or quarter round. A lot of times I get called because their shoe molding or quarter round is mushrooming on them because it's in a wet environment, and we all know that MDF is going to just suck it up and it blossoms. So it blows up on them, so I have to go back and replace it. There's this nice new material called PVC that's what you ought to be using in your bathrooms and in your kitchens if you're looking to do some fine covering there. But anyway, with regard to the notes that the professor handed me, yeah, with regard to the height of the ceiling, 8-foot ceilings, they recommend a 3 to 5 inch baseboard. 9 to 10 foot ceilings, 5 to 7 inch baseboard. 10 plus, 7 to 12. I've installed all those. As they get bigger, they get thicker. You have to go to a bigger nail. Most of the stuff I do is 18 gauge, but if I go to a bigger board like this, you see how thick it is, right? 16 gauge is the way to go with that. So that's crown, that's not base though. I mean, for the most part, you want to make sure that you pick a pattern that doesn't compete with other patterns that are in the room. If you got a lot of fancy trim, chair rail molding, or picture frame molding, or something like that, you want to make sure that you don't pick something that's very ornate. Just to kind of, you want to keep things consistent across the platform of the wall. All right, anything else on here I need to read? No, that's too much.
Rick, I got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
How you deal with your concrete floors or layout?
Well, you can either, with baseboard, you can either, they have a leveler, self-leveler that you can try to introduce and kind of feather into your work area. You can either do that, or you can scribe the bottom of the board. That's the one tool I didn't bring, but if you've got a run and you know that your floor does this, it's got a dip or something in it, you can scribe the bottom of the board with a pencil or protractor, something that's going to give you a consistent, so then when you take it back out to the bench, you can cut off most of it with a jigsaw, and then you get a belt sander and you kind of sand into the line. So then you take it back and you set it in, it looks like it fits, right? It just depends on how bad the dip is in the floor.
You coat the corners?
Very good question. I don't like coping that much because, to me, I do a really good job with the miters, but there are instances where coping is required. So yes, I do cope. In fact, I have some examples of coping And I'm going to talk about that on crown as well. So we'll come back to the coping question in the crown discussion, but don't let me forget. All right. Any other questions before we move off of baseboards? All right. I will say this tool right here, if you're going to update your baseboards, this tool right here, once you cut the caulk line on top of the baseboard, you jam this in behind it, all you have to do is pry it off just like that. This is a very good tool for getting the baseboards.
What is that tool called?
It's a pry bar, Goldblatt, and you can buy it on Amazon. I don't think they have it here, but you can buy it on Amazon. But no, this is worth its weight in gold if you're going to be messing with a lot of baseboard. And certainly, if you get a piece of crown up and it just looks weird, and you want to pull it off the ceiling and try to go at it again, then this helps with that too. So, here, pass that back to him so he can do a screen capture or whatever, and Amazon will pull it up for him. Any more questions about baseboard? I really had a lot of material about crown, so I wasn't dissing Tom. I just wanted to, there's a lot of good notes there. We'll send these out too. Yeah. But you can definitely Google that as far as the practices of baseboard. So moving on to crown, there's several things with regard to crown that you need to know. It's kind of the icing on the cake. You know, if you've ever had your house where you didn't have crown and then you had crown added, didn't it look so much better? Didn't it look phenomenal? So yeah, it's
right.
You may think, yeah, if it's done right. Yeah, you may think, my room's fine, but you add crown to the top of your room, you're going to really be glad you did. It's very good. Some of the things that you need to keep in mind, though, is if you're doing it yourself, is that crown comes in 16-foot sticks mostly at Inner City Lumber, at Tibbetts Lumber, at Rome. So if you're going to have a miter saw on a miter stand, you still got a whole lot of wood you got to support down the end of it. So you make sure you get another roller on the end of it, on each end really, is what you really need. Some kind of support so that that board is not trying to pull away from the fence, because then your cuts go all wacky. So make sure you got some support. Now at Home Depot, they'll let you cut off 8 feet or 10 feet or whatever you need. So, if you know you want to work with smaller lengths, then that's the way you can go to as well. Let's see here. Same thing with as with baseboard. There are rules of thumb with regard to size. 8 to 9 foot ceilings. Again, you're back to 3 inch to 5 1/4. 9 to 10 foot ceilings, you're like 4 1/4 to 7 1/2. Ceilings taller than 10 feet. You're into this kind of stuff. You're big stuff. Although I will tell you that I have one friend. He was insistent he wanted to put this in his kitchen. And his ceilings was only 8 foot tall. And once we got it up, it looked really good. So I know Caleb's got a bunch of pictures scrolling here too. Just some examples of stuff that Tom and I have done together. Some stuff I've done other places as well. But again, back to getting started with the crown. Make sure that your walls are plumb and square. That's a wood thing, right? I mean,
Drywall people don't have squares to the level.
Drywall people do not care one iota about woodworking coming behind them. I mean, this morning when I was putting that base on, I had to get my multi-tool out and work away the drywall that they had clumped up down near the floor, because the base on one side would fit against the wall and the other was away from the wall. And it would never get in. So I had to work on it with the multi-tool. So yeah, make sure that you understand how your wall is put together, because drywall applications, unless you're paying the extra money to get level 5. Now you go level 5, you've already spent a ton of money. It's going to be plumb, it's going to be square, it's going to be really nice, but that's going to take a huge chunk out of your wallet. So make sure you know what you're asking for before you ask for level 5 drywall.
You all acquainted with level 5 drywall?
No.
It's not textured, it's smooth, perfectly straight, and it takes days and days and days of the finishers mudding it, sanding it, and then they shine a light down it, and they look for any divots or any...
Yeah, they'll take a flashlight, and they'll get on one end of the wall, and they'll shine it down, and if there's a shadow at all on that drywall, then they know they still got work to do.
I'm doing a job right now for Saul Fleshman of Fleshman Garcia Architect, founder of that architectural firm in Tampa, and he's doubling the size of his house. It's a pretty small house in South Tampa, but he's got level 5 drywall in that entire house, and it took over a month for the finishers to get done with that. And it's not, he added about 1,500 square feet.
Wow.
Drywall crews can come in and out, hang it, mud it, tape it, and be done in 3 days. But it takes a long, long time to get it perfect.
Yep. So for the most part, when you're talking about crown, if somebody says colonial crown, this is kind of what they're talking about. It's got this cove cut here, kind of an OG in here. So this is 3 5/8. This is 5 1/4. So colonial is the most common kind of crown. Once you start getting into other profiles, sometimes they can work against you. Going back to your coping question, there are some boards that you actually can't cope because of the way that the top feature is. And I've got a board right here that is a non-copeable crown.
Quick question, Rick.
Yeah.
When you talk about the dimensions of crown molding, is that the actual width of the molding or the height when it's installed?
It's the width of the molding. Yeah, once you put the tape measure on it, that's how it is. Now, we're going to get into spring angles here in a minute, but this here, it has a bead at the top and then a bead at the bottom. So if you were to try to cove cut this, if you were to try to cope this, you would wind up having a problem up here at this top where this bead wants to come back out. So what happens is you wind up having starting with a cut where you've got the wood exposed, and then you'll get your coping saw, and you'll want to cut that so that all that wood disappears, because what you're doing is you're trying to mate that up with another piece as it runs this way, right? So you want that piece there to match up with it. Now I do have the up on the table. Yeah, there it is, coped right there. So when you cope it, you dig out the backside of the board. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of a problem with the curved part of it back here being a little bit high. So then you get your wood grasp and you take that little bit of wood away right there, and it winds up giving you an opportunity to come back with that feature, so that when you're up on the wall, then it sits in there. I will tell you, when you go shopping for crown, let's say you've had crown done in your house, part of the rooms, and you want to come back and you want to add it in a different part of the room, a house, but you have a few pieces left over from the last time. You can't really be guaranteed that the piece you're going to pick up is going to match what you have in your garage. The way you can really help yourself out is pay attention to the backside. Whenever they run these through a cutter, all right, they'll also notch them on the back. So they'll, when you go to Home Depot, you know, if you're going to pick 8 or 10 boards out, make sure they all have the exact same detail on the backside, so that you have a much better success for all of your curves and depths to match. Otherwise, you're going to be coughing a lot. And in some instances, the lines just won't even match up. So make sure that whatever you do, you know, that's 4 1/4, this is 5 1/4. Make sure whatever you do that you're always paying attention to this back side of your crown. See, this is 2 lines, this is 3 lines. You know, there's others that have no lines, others that have 2 sets of lines. So if you go to Tibbetts or Intercity or Rome, you know, they all get lumber from different places. They all get their boards from different places. So they're cut with different dies, cut with different cutters. So make sure you're consistent in getting it from the same place around the same time for your own sanity.
Rick, that would only apply to the natural wood molding, not the MDF, right? The MDF is molded, right?
In most cases, that is correct. Yeah. But you can't expect finger joint pine to play well with MDF.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So if you got MDF to start with and you want to keep using it, then go buy MDF. But just make sure you take care of paying attention to the back side of the board. Any questions so far? All right, so with regard to when you get ready to measure, cut, and install, when you bring it back, when you come back to the miter saw with your measurements, when you come back to the miter saw with your measurements, there's a few detents on the round measurement part down here for your angles, and those detents all correspond to crown molding stops, basically. 22.5, 31.6, 35.3, and they don't all play with crown the same way. There's 2 different ways to cut crown. There's nested, and then there's flat. So if you, for those of you who raised your hands that you have installed crown, did you cut it nested or flat? If you did nested, raise your hand. Nested, nested, nested.
What is nested?
Okay, so if you're on your miter saw, nested means that first off, if you're looking at crown up on the ceiling, this is the bottom part of the crown, this is your top part. But if you're going to cut this nested on your miter saw, you go upside down, and the measurements that you took for your length, that whatever you need, if you took them from the right, you measure from the left on the saw. So it's upside down and backwards. You'll hear that term all the time, upside down and backwards on crown. Now nested means that on your saw, again, this is not my saw, but just for demonstration purposes, it sits in here like this. Now on my saw, I have these stops for nested. All right.
Probably open this up and see it better. I have a pause, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So, like on my saw, this stop would sit there, so it would help me register where the top of my crown is, right? So, what that winds up giving me is an opportunity to put some opposing pressure as my saw is cutting down so that the bottom of it doesn't slide out from under me, right? So I like cutting nested. I learned most of my cuts cutting nested, but flat has its opportunities as well. What happens with flat though is if you're cutting flat, you wind up having to use the gauge on the backside. Come here, Tom, and demonstrate again for us. If we want to go with a 22.5 degree cut this way. I'll leave that at 0. Just put this on a 22.5 degree angle. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, there you go. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, so then there's your 22.5 degree mark right there. Where the red mark, we'll just pretend that's 22.
Now, it wouldn't actually be 22.5 though, right?
No, well, it depends on what you're trying to cut, right? I mean, if we wanted to do 45 on our,
It would actually be like 30.1 or...
well, that's, on the base down here, that's where you go 31.6 and 33.8 or whatever those are, you know. Again, I don't cut flat, I cut nested, right? So, yeah, so you wind up, once you get this one at 22.5, then you have to manipulate this one here so that you get your angle. So you get the 45, but the 45 is not 45, it's really 31.6. Because of the way that you got this one going over that way.
Now I know why I only attempted this
Yeah, no, it's weird.
Write down what I said.
Oh, I got it
Get him
locked
to
up
do
here.
it. That's the most important thing I learned.
Yeah, it's weird math.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I know it.
Yeah. So, as I say, I like doing it nested because I don't have to deal with, I'm an engineer by
I can't
background.
do the big stuff nested.
Correct. That's where flat, I would have to go back in YouTube, university, apply myself again for flat. Exactly.
Question for you.
Yeah.
I had my house redone, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, and a young man and his crew came in there, and I was really impressed with him. And put all wood floors down, and every baseboard in my house was redone. And he measured that entire house, all the baseboards, everywhere, wrote it down on a piece of paper, the entire house, kitchen, bathroom, everywhere. Then went outside and they cut it all, put it together outside and then brought it in and every bit of it fit.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how he did it, and I watched him do it.
Yeah, the pros that do that, and I've done a couple of opportunities with, you may have seen, scroll through there, there was a paint booth and a stack of crown all stacked up, painted there. Caleb will find it here in a second, throw it up there. But yeah, we did a whole house. We did a whole house, and so I wanted to paint all the crown ahead of time. So I have a portable paint booth that I could drive a car into if I needed to, but it holds all my 16-foot stick boards. So then I go in and I spray paint 5 at a time, and I come out and I stick them on a rack. Then I add a layer, go back and do 5 more, stick them on a rack, add another layer, so I can stack about 6 high before it gets weird. So, but I worked with a pro guy on that because I needed help getting it done quick, and he did exactly that. He came in and measured every wall, wrote all the numbers down, and did all the cutting, and then after he cut them, he and I went and installed each room, so, and they all fit, for sure. Any more questions? All right, we've got 15 minutes to cookie time, so I'll try to speed up here. Sometimes though, back to your coping question, sometimes you're forced into coping. If you're working with small pieces, like this is a cabinet job that, again, it's going through there, it'll be the green one. A cabinet job that Tom and I did, bookcases mostly, where this piece was so small that being able to hold the front face and this piece to get that miter to work. And then if that were also mitered for an inside cut, then to have to make that piece made up with it, you know, that's where coping comes in. So a lot of times what happens is if you manipulate a short piece to get your outside corner nice, right, then the back side over there is a little wonky because it may not be perfectly square. Not digging on your craftsmanship, Tom, but sometimes they're not all plumb and square.
The drywall walls that we cut into the drywall, they were like.
We did have to dig into the drywall to put those cabinets in for sure. So again, it depends on the question about coping. Sometimes you have to cope, which is what I did on that entertainment center. This piece here was that short, and I had to come back in with this piece and make that fit, right? All right. Good. So that's an instance where coping definitely comes into your favor, for sure. Did I answer all your questions about coping? It's an art, as you can see.
You don't just wake up in the morning and know how to do all that stuff. That's pretty
Well, see, this is a coping saw, right? You see how small the blade is on that, right? So you have to follow the paint line exactly as you're cutting that cope out, right? And I don't know, sawdust gets in the way, and I may cut one a little bit this way. My cut is never clean; it's always jagged. That's the reason God invented caulk. Okay. Caulk covers a multitude of sins, all right? So, but yes, coping is a necessary skill set. In some cases, you're forced into it, no doubt. Let's see, what else is in these notes here? What else did you ask me to talk about, Tom?
How do you make a 16-foot piece covering 30-foot wall?
Mm-hmm. I'll get to that in a second. One more thing about these corners here. You'll notice that if you come and look at it, you'll see there are no nails in this. That's because CA glue has been a really nice invention for us, right? So with CA glue, you can glue all these pieces together. And Spencer Lewis on Insider Carpentry, he will do long stretches of crown molding, 5 1/4 inch crown. He'll do long stretches, combine them together with, but what he does is on the back side is he glues in some dowels on the back side to help give them strength. And he'll show you in one of his videos, he'll bang on the table and it'll break the wood before it breaks that beam. I was shocked. So yeah, CA glue is a necessary evil. Also, well, I won't say evil because I really like it. I really like the way that it gives you a nice clean edge here. So, in fact, I still have some from this morning when I used it on the baseboard. But yeah, you wind up needing that again to make all your pieces come together nice and clean. So just take advantage of the opportunity to use CA glue when you can. As I said before, I like finding studs to nail into. Sometimes the drywall is not level 5, so it's wavy, like Daryl's wall. It'll have waves in it, and sometimes that crown will just be a little bit proud off the wall a little bit too much. So you can go in and nail at this angle, and then just rotate your gun, nail it at this angle. That way it's got a V inside the wall, and that'll hold it against the wall a little bit better. If you get real good, you can nail into the exact same hole, and you don't have 2 holes caulk. So sometimes when you put these up, if you didn't get enough CA glue, they might want to come free. So if that happens, I always have my 23 gauge nailer handy, and I'll push it back together, and I'll stick a 23 gauge pin nail in the top just to kind of hold it together if it starts trying to separate on me. So that leaves a very, very small hole. So you wind up, being able to use all the tools the way you want to. When you're putting crown up too, again, the ceiling may not be level. So what happens is you wind up having to use these little wooden inventions called shims. You stick those up there, because what happens is especially in the corners, especially with an inside corner miter, if you want that to fit up in the corner just right, you wind up needing it to come to a certain line. Let me talk briefly about spring angles. I did jump past that. When you're picking up crown, there is a thing called spring angles. So most of these are 52-38, 38-52. They do have a 45-45.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I'm fixing to tell you. All right, so this job that Tom and I did down in South Tampa, he said, "Do you want me to pick up the crown?" He'd gone to inner city. I said, "Sure." He picked up the crown, and I had never really worked with 45-45 crown, but that's what he bought. So when he wound up bringing it on site, I had all my tools ready to go for 52-38, and he had 45-45, so I had to readjust. What that means is that the angle on the bottom here, coincident with the face of the crown, that's a 45-degree angle that makes. So when you place this, every piece of crown has a flat piece. All right, so this is a 52-38. So this is what goes on the wall, this flat piece, and this piece goes on the ceiling, that flat piece. So I don't know if that was for me or not, but take a message. All right. So what that means is because this is going to go on the wall, I've got a 38-degree angle from the ceiling or 52-degree angle from the wall. So you can either run it this way, 52-38, or you can do 45-45, which is this. This comes into play sometimes depending on the height of the wall. What Spencer Lewis says in his videos is that as the ceilings get taller, if you have a taller profile on your crown instead of a more pronounced profile on your crown hanging out over the wall, you don't see much of the crown way up high. So what's the point, right? It's got detail in it that's why you add it, because you want to see the detail up high. So if you can rock that, get the right crown that has the right spring angle that makes it come forward a little bit way up high, you see more of the accents and more of the profile of the trim that gives it more things to be interested in. So that's spring angle.
Thank you.
All right. Some of the other things you can do with crown, if you want to do above and beyond just a single piece of crown, you can go with what's called stacked crown. We did this on the South Tampa home. Now, there's the green cabinet I was telling you about. That centerpiece there is the one that I wound up having to CA glue both ends of that center section, and then I coat the side wings of the crown for that. So that's how that all came together. But anyway, back to the South Tampa home we did. The lady had a future son-in-law that was an architect, and so he drew up a sketch, and this was kind of what he drew up. Tom actually invented it on the fly, and so I executed the vision. So it's a cove, a piece of 1x and then a piece of colonial.
Oh, wow.
So that's 3 pieces. That's called stacked crown. There's another name for it too, but I call it stacked, built up, stacked, something like that. So you can get really funky. You can make designs with all kinds of stuff with crown. Let's see, what else?
That particular
Oh,
job was
yeah, go ahead.
beautiful, the way it turned out, and she originally wanted the entire...
Yeah, this is it here.
Yeah, she wanted the entire space wrapped, but she didn't have enough budget for that. She said, well, just run it out from the corner wall unit to the opening and just turn it back. It's a good thing that Rick ran it into the wall and he was gonna cope into that corner, because when we came out the wall, how far was it out, Rick? About ½ inch? The wall?
Oh, no, it was an inch.
And about 6 feet.
Yeah, one tool I normally take with me
The
is a,
wall was out of straightness
yeah, it was warped.
by almost a full inch.
Yeah, I normally take a 4-foot level with me, and you can put it on the wall, and that way you see where all the waviness is in the wall. So on that wall, she wanted us to extend that crown over a section that was going to be impossible. There was no way to make the crown bend the way she wants to, because that's what way you have to treat crown is sometimes the way the wall and the ceiling work together. Again, they're not perfect unless they're level 5. So you wind up having to manipulate by bending, pushing, hammering, shimming. He wants to come join us, so somebody let him in.
That particular piece there, you had to put that all together in whatever the length of the,
Yeah, this was 3 separate runs.
yeah, but you had to put it all together, then cut it, right?
No.
we
So you
built
cut
the piece.
each
I cut
one.
cut each piece
And then
per the
glue it
measurements, because it was going around a specific set of cabinets. So it wasn't long runs, right? So I cut every piece according to the measurement, and then I stacked it together as I installed
As
it
you
on
installed it on the wall.
the cabinet. Correct. Yeah. This was for demonstration purposes, just let you see how that all came together in 3 different pieces.
How accurate is your lasers?
It's a very good question, because I've been through 3 of them. The Bosch ones, they're hit or miss. They've been off a 1/16 of an inch. I had one that was off 3/32 of an inch. This one so far is kind of holding true. It's a Leica Disto D2. This is the one that Spencer Lewis also uses for insider carpentry. So it wasn't cheap. It was about $190 for this.
So if you're measuring between walls, does it measure from the base of that?
Yes, yeah. In fact, if you want to hook it on the corner, also you can do that. Okay. So back to his question earlier about what do you do if you got a 16-foot board but a 30-foot wall, right? You have to use what's called a scarf joint. So when you combine 2 boards, you want to pick a spot somewhere where you're going to be able to have a good foundation. You don't want to be right in the middle of a big wave. So kind of pay attention to where your wall is if you've got a long run. You know, if I've got a stud here and it's pretty flat around it, that might be the right spot for a scarf joint. So a scarf joint basically is just laying the board down flat, leaning it over to 22.5, cutting it. And some people use 45. Some people use butt joints. So it just depends on how nice and clean your saw blade's cutting. I use a CMT orange blade. It's a thin blade, and I love it. It's time to replace it, but I mean it's cut a lot of stuff, and it makes really nice clean cuts. But if you do the scarf joint right at 22.5, they'll overlap. Let's see if I have another 45, but they'll overlap. So if these were two boards that were going in right, they would overlap like that. And you would get that as nice and tight and clean as you could. Yeah, these are two different runs, so they're not matching up exactly right. So, but yeah, and then you would nail around the scarf joint. Then you would come back if there are any gaps because you didn't do it exactly right on the line. Then you wind up. You could use a little bit of wood putty, fill it in, and then come back and sand it down. Get one of those foam sanding pads just so you keep the profile, don't flatten it up, kind of thing. They make some nice angled sanding backers too, so that you can get into the seam and make that nice and crisp as well. So,
Do you make that cut it at an angle like that, or would it be just a 90 degree and then scarf cut it?
no, whatever you do to one, you have to do the opposite to the other.
Right, but that one just was, it was almost like a 45.
That was a 45 there. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just trying to show you how they would overlap to come together. Again, some people use 45s as a scarf joint. I use 22 and a half. Spencer does on some of his. He does butt joints on his, but you know he's next level. All right, so I'm getting the hook signed here. If you have any more questions, let me make sure if I've left anything ultra important out for you. Well, not necessarily, other than the fact that if you have base and crown, but you still feel like your wall is lacking, consider an accent, either a chair rail, wainscoting, beadboard, board and batten. There's all different kinds of accoutrements you can add to your wall so that it kind of ups the scale on what's visibility and what you want to see. So just remember, measure twice, cut once, pray always, right? I do have a coffee cup that says measure once, cuss twice. All right, well, that's it. If you got questions, come see me.
Thanks for watching the Brandon Woodworkers Club. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great content. Click next for another woodworking project.